Hello my friends and welcome once again to 7 true scary stories from Reddit. There's nothing more creepy than a good scary story to keep you hidden under your covers at night. But if the scary stories are real, does it make it even more creepy? As continuously requested, here's 7 more real scary stories from Reddit users. I was in the marching band my freshman year of high school and had to go to every football game. This is Texas, so high school football is a big deal. It's a home game at my school's college-sized stadium. A warm fall night. The AstroTurf is bright green under the stadium lights. The Jumbotron animates words of encouragement. Bats snatch insects to draw to the light above us. The Chaparrals are winning. There's only a few more minutes left on the clock. During most of the game, the crowds are constantly cheering. The band's playing fight songs, and the cheerleaders are highline chanting. Except when a player gets knocked down. Then the stadium quiets down a bit, while people wait for the kid to pop back up so they can all cheer especially loud for him. Well, a kid gets hit hard and goes down. And stays down. Things start to quiet down. First, the bands and cheer squads quit making noise. Then the shouting fans quiet down. Then the random chatter starts to die down. After a long while, the entire stadium, over 9,000 people, are dead silent, until a lone woman starts to wail. His mother. And it stretches out for ages. Minutes pass. Eventually, an ambulance drives onto the field and takes the boy away. I learn later that he shattered the C4 and C5 vertebrae in his neck. He's paralyzed from the shoulders down. He eventually died at 20. Last month, my father sent me a disc he made me with his old cam tapes he recorded when I was young. There's around an hour and a half of different videos about me. Birthday parties, hockey games, Christmas, and plenty of other videos. Really lame and boring stuff for the most. But there's this one strange video. It's happening during the summer. Someone is filming me from the basement window while I was playing outside. I was jumping repeatedly into a little children's pool. The camera was zooming in and out on my face. This video lasts for about 5 minutes. Sometimes we see my mother in the background, taking care of the garden and keeping an eye on me. Even if I was young, 7 or 8 years old at the time, I can perfectly remember that day. My mom was outside taking care of the garden and checking on me. She never left the area because she was too afraid that I could drown. My father was staying at the hospital at that time, and my older brother was in another town. So I was wondering, who was filming me in my basement? I asked my family about this, and they were terrified when I showed this video to them. I'm so glad we're not living there anymore. Too many strange things happen there. My friend and I decided to take a trip from our Midwest state to Florida to celebrate our college graduation. We stayed in Atlanta on the first night of our trip. We were outside of a dive bar, the Highlander, and this friendly guy and his girlfriend started making small talk with us. Simple questions like, where are you from, and where did you graduate from college, and so forth. We found out that they were from Rockford, Illinois, and had just graduated as well. We all left together as they wanted to go back to their hotel, and we wanted to get to another bar. They left in his black '05 BMW Z4 convertible, with the Chicago Bears decal on the back. Anyway, the next morning, hungover of course, decided to hit Route 75 to finish our trip down. We hit horrible traffic, bumper to bumper, for well over an hour, just about 50 miles south of Atlanta. We get to the source of the traffic, and it's people rubbernecking at one car accident. 2 blue tarps over corpses, an erect black '05 BMW Z4, with its top open, on its side right next to them. The Chicago Bears decal confirmed what we already knew. Man. Her severed arm was right next to one of the tarps, uncovered. It unsettles me. I don't even remember their names, or if they even told us. Yet I think about them a lot because they were my age. What would they be doing? They wanted to marry, but they weren't engaged yet. Would they have kids now? Ugh. It was 2002, and I was hitchhiking around the U.S. I was on my way to a rainbow gathering in the Mark Twain National Forest just outside of Ironton, Missouri. It was about 11 p.m. when we made it to the state road that led into the forest. It was too dark to see the discreet stacked stone cairns that led to the seed camp location, so we decided to pull over on the side of the road and wait until morning. All night, we heard what sounded like children playing. Lots of kids. Like an entire playground's worth. Except we were miles from the nearest public road, out in the middle of BLM land, and the noises continued on throughout the entire night. Next morning, we found the seed camp location and settled in. At the height of the gathering, there was maybe 150 people there, but in the seed camp stage, there was maybe a dozen or so of us who got there early to set up the site. A few of us went wandering around in the hills, looking for firewood and perhaps a fresh spring to get water from. We came across an old foundation for a house out in the middle of the woods. The house that stood on it must have been gone for quite some time, because there were decent-sized trees growing where it once stood. There were a few pieces of rotted-out boards scattered around, and some rusted nails and other metal bits that must have served some integral function for the home. We figured there might be some cool junk lying around, so we looked closer. We found a kid's shoe, half rotted into the forest floor. Then we found another, and another, and another. And then we found half-decayed garbage bags full of them. Hundreds of kids' shoes, of all styles, from old-timey dress shoes to those jelly shoes from the 80s. Some looked relatively new. Some looked like they had been out there for decades, scattered within a 25-foot radius of this old foundation. Oddly enough, there wasn't any other stuff out there. No old refrigerator, or maybe some junk appliances or tools or whatnot. Just kids' shoes. When I was 13, I lived in a small town in rural Zimbabwe. We had a large single-story house with a massive garden that surrounded the property. On one side of the house, the garden narrowed between our house and the fence of our neighbor's house. At the end of this narrow section was an empty, decrepit cement-lined pond that I had recently cleared of the rubble and plant life with the plan of eventually filling it again. One afternoon, my friend Dan and I were messing around in the garden, and for some reason I found myself running down the narrow section of the garden straight towards the pond. Suddenly, and for some reason I can't really articulate, dread and fear washed over me like 1,000 needles raining from the sky. I stopped dead in my tracks about 2 meters from the pond, and found myself breathlessly staring at it, motionless. From the crack of one side of the pond, a long snake, perhaps a meter long, emerged 3 or 4 seconds later. It was a Mozambique-spitting cobra, a large, aggressive, and extremely venomous snake that wouldn't hesitate to bite or spit at threats. Like a 13-year-old boy running past its new home in the wall of the pond, for instance. I slowly backed away, and the pond was filled with sand the next day. To this day, I don't know what it was that stopped me dead in my tracks. But if I continued, perhaps I wouldn't be here today. When my dad was little, he shared a room with my uncle, which was in the basement. Anyway, the room was near the basement TV room, where my grandparents sit and watch TV at night. One night, my dad woke up just screaming and crying, so my grandparents went to see what was going on. My grandma hugged him and asked what happened, and he said, "They all died. All of them. Everyone. Off a mountain. Someone help them, please." My grandmother assumed it was a bad nightmare and stayed with him the rest of the night, but he couldn't sleep. He was very, very upset. Next morning, she opened the paper, and there was a horrible train crash in the mountains somewhere in South America. No one survived. My fiancé traveled all around the States for work, and we were living in Texas. We got the call for another job in Pennsylvania, so before going out there, we decided to visit our families in California. Now, for some reason, I had a horrible feeling, and we got into a fight about going home. Our family's homes were about 6 hours apart in California, so we stopped at his parents' house for the night, and I took off to my parents' house with their son the next morning. I bawled my eyes out in the morning I left. I couldn't understand why I was so upset because I'm not a super emotional person. He held me and he told me, "It's not like I'm going away. I'll see you in less than a week." I drive home and I'm there for 2 days or so. I talked to him on the phone late one evening and he sounds really tired. I get off the phone and quickly fall into sleep. I find myself having an overwhelming feeling of cold, like I'm all alone and sorrow and blackness is enveloping me. It was the scariest feeling I've ever experienced. The next day I try in vain to reach my fiancé by phone. I get the most heartbreaking phone call at about 6 p.m. He was gone, passed away in his sleep from heart disease-related problems. I felt him leave me. I know this now. It was creepy and scary, and I can never shake the feeling. I miss him every day. All of these stories were taken from a thread on Reddit. If you'd like to read them, the link is in the description below. That's all the time I have for today, my friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening. I'm Imori. Now listen to the spooky tunes. Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to 7 more scary stories from Reddit. There's nothing more than a creepy story. I don't know.